All right. It's official. We're being taped. How's it going? How's this week? Are you cold? What's new?
We went back in person this week.
Ooh, tell us more. How'd that go?
Oh, it depends on the classes. So I have a number of in-person classes. So I was in person on Tuesday night, and that is a hybrid. So I was teaching on site with a number of families, but I also had another facilitator via Zoom, and I had families via Zoom. So both were happening. And so we had it set up so that the families that were off site could still communicate, and we had them on the smart board and us in the classroom. It was a little bit difficult for the families to hear the ones that were on site, but the ones that were on Zoom, we could hear them perfectly. And so now we have sound fields. So we have 5 of them. And I think not only will I wear a sound field, I think we're gonna have the families wear them as well. So we'll see how that turns out this Tuesday night on week 2 of being back in that format. But yesterday's class, my Thursday morning, was super simple because it's only just in person. So it's what we're all used to. I didn't have to set anything up other than our presentation and the smartboard and some table tents, and that was it. So yeah, that was a big adjustment.
Nikki, I see Ellen with the same quizzical look on her face.
Yeah. What's a sound field? What?
Yeah.
Tell me more.
Oh, like the little voice amplifier that you wear around your neck, like a microphone, but it's actually a sound field so that it's it's not just like in front of you, it's putting it out into the environment. So, you can talk, you don't have to like talk loudly, but it would amplify so that really, even the thought is when you're having a circle time, if the teacher is wearing a sound field, it makes the sound feel like for every student there that you're right next to them.
So that makes sense to me. And when we did some hybrid classes, when we had parents in person and parents via Zoom, at the same time, they could always hear me because the iPad was close to me, but they couldn't hear the parents sitting 12 feet away. So that's why we stopped doing it, because they couldn't hear. And I can't be all like, oh, move the camera, move the camera, move the camera. It's like.
So I just found a link on Classroom Sound. It is Sound Field, F-I-E-L-D, Nikki? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
And that actually was the issue, was I was the furthest away from the actual laptop that had the sound and the camera. There was another family that was closer to it than I was. And the people that were online were actually able to hear them better than they were able to hear me. So that was the same issue. And the facilitator, this was a co-taught class. And so I had taken pictures of 100%, like every page of the book I was reading. And so she had it, we put it just into a Google slide presentation so that she could turn the pages of the book on the Google slides while I was turning the pages of the book, with the kids that were in front of me, because we knew that the kids on Zoom wouldn't be able to see it very well. And she was having a tough time hearing all of what I was saying because I was far from the microphone.
So does it amplify in the room, or does it amplify, does it go to the camera?
In the room. It's both. Yeah, it will be both.
Huh.
Just adding in here what we're talking about. Sound during hybrid sessions. So my question, Nikki, is were you able to focus on content?
Yeah, we always have been. I know I've been listening to conversations too here that we've shared. It's been a bit of both, where families have really just talked about what's been going on, or whether families have been able to dive into that content. And for whatever reason, we have always stuck to the content. And so, yeah, we just were it just happened to be that this was the week that we moved online, but we were all together the week before that and the week before that. And, you know, we've been together for the whole year. So yeah, we just moved through it like it's the same as it would have been when we're in person, just in a different format.
Clearly a great example of adaptive expertise.
It's a learning in progress, right? For all of us.
Yep.
Because it wasn't until this was the first time that I've ever had families on site and via Zoom. And I know other people have navigated that. So yeah, and it actually was fortunate that we had the sound fields in the building. So I think we'll be set for this Tuesday evening, but I was really clear with our families that whatever expertise they bring and that they know, please share it with us so that we'll do anything we can to figure this out together and work together to make sure that everybody can hear the way that they should be.
Can I ask, we have a couple people on staff that work with we have a voice enhancement system in one of our rooms. Laura in particular, does this sound like what we have in that room?
It may, and I kind of jumped on mid conversation with it.
Nikki, do you know approximately the cost? No? Okay.
Oh no, but I mean, they're just like, I mean, you can wear it around your neck just like you're wearing your badge. And it's a small, I will say like this big. It's a little.
And that is similar to what we have in that classroom, Christy. I always hold on to it because I found that it gives too much static otherwise for families if I'm not holding it, but if it's because then it interferes with the lanyards or whatever else you might be wearing.
830. Oh, and that's in British pounds. So 832. Okay, quick. Get your currency converters out. Isn't it about 1.5 now for a British pound? So anyway, we're looking at probably $1,200 to $1,500, right? And that, no.
No, I'm talking about I'm talking about a device that's like a small device, like a $50 thing. I'm not talking about a big, huge, expensive thing.
The device that on the website looks like it's the device, but it also has other pieces. So that's a system. So I think that 831 pounds is a system and not necessarily the single device that Nikki's talking about, but I don't know.
Yeah. Is it something that I'm curious, I'm always curious how, because ECFE is delivered through school districts and learning techs is oftentimes better supported, or the focus of learning tech focuses on the kids' classrooms. So Nikki and Robbinsdale, are these devices available, say, for 3rd grade and 6th grade and in high school and that sort of thing? So
A lot of classes.
okay, so it's possible. So would it be possible that in other school districts, they may be out there and being used, and ECFE could borrow them or use them, or also take advantage of them, as you know,
When
programs are venturing into this hybrid system?
When I was in Minnetonka, every children's teacher used them. They were big into the research there on the sound field. So they all used them. I don't know what that practice looks like today because it's been a while since I've been there. But many teachers in our district do use them as well.
We, as a district, they bought one for every teacher because we were going with the masks. They bought one for every teacher, and we as ECFE got one. But the one we bought, and so just an FYI, we got one, but it doesn't have a speaker. You'd have to have it go into something that would then do an amplification. So just to watch, just an FYI, there are different ones that I think some can go into your phone. This one couldn't, things like that can do amplification processes. just a FYI, if people are looking into it, make sure you pay attention to that part too. Right.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if they might be called something common, you know, like that, like if you went to Amazon and you would just type it in, you'd get the little $50 thingy that you're talking about. So
I will ask my program what it is and ask if I can get a picture of it.
Okay.
It's just so little.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it could be, you know, from the link that I found that Karen was looking at too, you know, it could be that a school district purchases a system so that they are somewhat, you know, interconnected and they are supported, and there is technology that is beyond just the little baby device. So interesting, but mostly it just sounds, I give you all kinds of credit, Nikki, for sort of navigating this space of online, in person, and holding in your mind as a teacher, right, the needs and the learning ability of people who are not only in your face-to-face classroom, but also keeping in mind the people who are Zooming in or who are not there. And so when we talk about access, you know, access is also the ability to hear and the ability to participate. And it's just a Herculean task sometimes holding all of that in your mind. That's partly why I was asking about doing the content piece, is sometimes, you know, it's, you know, like I would want somebody to be able to be there to do the tech part of it. And then I can just focus on teaching. And then they could say, you know, like maybe hold your thing, you know, sort of like Laura saying, like, hold it in your hand or something like that. It's like, okay, I can do that because I'm going to go back to teaching. So good for you, you know, round of applause for doing all that. So.
So can I bring something up? Yesterday I was in a Zoom meeting with Katie Smith, and I know some of you were on that meeting yesterday and maybe at different times. But our 9 o'clock group was talking about, we had a lot of up north people that are missing qualified parent educators. And they're looking, and Becca, you can jump in if you if I'm off the way, but they are looking to get some qualified parent educators. And right now, because we're all on Zoom, they're looking to maybe jump in on some of our parent education groups if they can. Is that kind of right, Becca? Is that kind of how you understood it?
So I think it was a combo of things.
Yeah.
Feeling very, very isolated, not having the support they need to reach out to people, and wondering if there could be some kind of shared parenting support, making use of the fact that we're all distance anyway, being able to reach some of those outstate northern districts. I'm not sure exactly what they're looking for. Part of me even wondered if some of the people they do have want to be part of a group like this to just do some connecting with other parent educators, but it seemed like it was people running programs who don't have licensed parent educators up there, and trying to find a way to connect with people in the cities who might be able to share some of their time if they're already doing something on Zoom to connect with people in other parts of the state. So I'm not sure what that would look like, but we said we would mention something in this group.
So is it something that we would just tell? I mean, this isn't an exclusive group, right? So, I mean, at least that's never been my intent. So, I mean, would this be something that we would just let them know that we're meeting on Fridays and they're welcome to join us?
So I mentioned that, yeah. And I don't know, like we were talking, we don't know exactly what they're looking for or how they want to do this, but I think they're looking to get some kind of help. They were talking that they don't have the necessary license as parent educators, or they're using other parent educators like from Head Start or like other areas that they just don't feel like they're they're doing the connection piece like us parent educators would be doing, right? And so they're just looking to see if there's a way that we either as a group or we as a parent educator could say, like, kind of like Nikki, like they could jump in on our Zoom call and even, you know, because we're doing distance anyway. And so it would just be a different family, but they would be a family like way up north. And so,
So it's
yeah.
less for the educators, for their support and more for their ability to outreach and provide for families?
I
Okay.
think
think
so.
so.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think they're kind of hoping for some like shared programming.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I was going to comment, I don't know where that falls as far as, like, I can't speak for what my admin would say about availability, but honestly, like my classes, none of my parent and child classes are actually running right now, but my virtual classes, they're all running, but my numbers are still low. So adding a couple of parents to some of my classes would not be a big deal for me. I just don't know where the funding piece of that, if that becomes an issue that you're providing to outside of your community or not.
I feel like it could go a couple of different ways. It could be like that, like a shared partnership with another school district, or it could be a job posting for a parent educator from another part of the state to offer parenting from wherever they're at, you know, so it could be just a different way of providing programming.
See, and when you go to that part of it, then I'm already too busy and I don't want to take on more classes. But I have room in my classes for parents to join. So that would be kind of like my take as an individual parent educator already working rather than taking on another job posting.
I totally get that. But I think that there are a lot of part-time parent educators who maybe would be able to take that on. It just, I think that particular district would have to decide which way they want to go.
Well, I'm wondering, would it even be an option? I don't work on the funding pieces of it as much, so I don't know. Would it be an option for someone like me to say, I have room still in my class if anyone from that area wants to join? Or is that not even something that can be? Would they have to do it as a separate job posting?
So, well, first of all, usually has her hand up, so I want to be sure and recognize her. And the administrators in the group chime in. I know that this is that funky area with the internet and with delivering virtual service, is that it is boundaryless, right? And so I could see an administrator saying, well, you may have space in your class, but if you are adding other people, then you're going outside of the jurisdiction of our school district. And you're basically providing a free service where other families are paying, you know, whatever. So I could understand kind of that argument. As a state educator and as somebody who worked in county systems, I got that a lot, you know, sort of like crossing the line, kind of the clear boundary line. But partly what I'm wondering about, and Sarah Hardy, I'm glad that you're here, because I wonder too about sort of, as you were saying, Jen, like the part-timers and the entrepreneurial folks. I mean, this is a great opportunity to provide outreach to parents, because everybody is getting more used to doing things online and sort of developing that expertise for online outreach. So let's go to Yuji first, because she's got her hand up, and then Sarah, I'd love to hear from you on your thoughts about this.
Hi, Dr. Walker and everyone. I raised hand not only for this one. I have something to share, something else to share. Of course, I mean, according to this, I mean, it also reminded me because I'm teaching the class in Whitefish, and there were someone asked if she can share this, you know, link to her friend in Minnesota to join this class because it is online. And I asked the supervisor at Whitefish. He didn't answer me yet. So yeah, so this is very a good question. You know, people join the parenting class across district or across states even, right? So I think this is very good. And can I share my experience of my first class I taught last Tuesday, or when do you want?
Sure.
to-
Yeah. Usually, I definitely want to hear it. I'm sure, and I see other people shaking their heads. I want to make sure that we're still focused too on the idea about cross-boundary access. So,
Okay,
can we come back to that in a moment?
sure,
Okay.
sure. Thank you.
Great. So Sarah or others and administrators, I'd love to hear from you too. So, Sarah, what is your take on this as an entrepreneurial parenting editor?
Yeah, so in my experience with Edina, we had people from Minneapolis and other districts all the time in our classes. So I think the only thing was that people in the Edina School District had priority for registration. They had a week's lead. And then registration was open for everybody. So everyone's nodding. So I don't feel like it would be that unusual for someone just to seek out a class in a different district. Like if that district directed parents to do that. Now, does that satisfy the district's obligation to provide parent education? I don't know. Sort of doubt it. But many parents I know have sought ECFE or other parent ed classes from different districts other than the ones they live in and pay school fees to. So I think that seal is already broken in that way. I mean, it is certainly the kind of thing that like someone could be hired to create a class for the district, but that's a contract, right? That's a job. If the district needs to create a class that fulfills the statute that is use of their ECFE funding, and they want to use it in that way, I think this, certainly affords them the opportunity of not having to find someone in their city. For a short time here. I mean, hopefully next fall.
It seems like the one would bring the monies into the district, right? And the other would put the monies into the other district, whichever district they're paying for. And that would be a district decision for them to do one or the other, right?
I want to say too, we had reached out to some family members in that lived out of state and had some families from out of state in classes in 196 this fall.
That's the case now too. There is some people from out of state in certain classes. And Sarah, I don't know, like in Edina, we had independent parent groups too that didn't have anything to do with like a group of parents would hire us to come and do like a parenting class in their living room, either on a consistent basis or like a one-time event type thing where it didn't go through ECFE or have any funding to it. It was just independently, paid by the people that were in the class. So I don't know how but that would be for that group of people, you would think that if you could advertise and lead parenting groups that way, where you didn't have to necessarily go through your school district either.
Right. So, I mean, that's the kind of thing I'm doing, totally set up for, and I have people from all over the country in some classes. So, but anybody can do it. It's not hard.
But as somebody that, like I brought it up before, if it would be a conflict of interest, one of our local churches kind of wanted me to come and do some parenting classes. And I was told that it would be a conflict of interest. And because I held a job already in the district providing that kind of education, that I couldn't do it or pay on the side outside of it. And that if they wanted to host it elsewhere, I could then do it elsewhere through the district still. I was allowed to do education for above third grade since we are not qualified for that, but I am still qualified for that. That was something I was able to offer through other organizations or through myself or through our community ed book that dealt with the higher ages, but I was told it would be a conflict of interest for me to offer my services outside of what we were already offering in the district.
I don't remember that being an issue, do you, Sarah?
No, and I think that they would
Maybe
have
we didn't tell anybody. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that is that's a strong position for a district to take when PEs are making what they're making, and the whole goal is to support families however they need support.
I'm surprised too, and I think it's interesting, in the district that in which I serve, we partner and we collaborate, and that's one of the things that, I mean, our community needs assessment, all these things that we will be out in the community. So if a church wants us to do something, not only will we say yes, our district, they send us. I mean, we do a presentation and it's part of, you know, the things that we work on, and that's just another project that we would take on, is to work with that church group or, you know, childcare association. So I too feel like that, oh, that's such a strong position for a program to take. And I wonder where does that come from? And is it contradictory to like the community needs assessment? And is it saying that we simply are saying then, I'm not going to serve my whole community?
Yeah, I specifically brought it up because it was one of the churches, and they said that they didn't want me to start looking like I was affiliated with that church, and therefore my classes would then be affiliated with that church. And so they did not want me to be part of any other program. In fact, I even had to do a little convincing when my MOPS group asked if I could come and do a presentation for the MOPS group. And I had to sell it as being a part of outreach I had to really make sure that at the end, I gave them all a book for our catalog of classes, and that I really had to tell them to come to our other district classes, and that it was something I couldn't do on a consistent basis for them.
So I think that comes from a historical sense of school districts and different funding streams competing with one another. I mean, even when we talk about advocacy for everybody who's serving young children and, you know, Head Start and childcare and all of those ways, like we have this historical feeling of like, well, if you get money, that means our money is going to get taken away. And so we've always had this historical competitiveness with others. Whereas that shift, there's a shift in recent years, thankfully, that if childcare gets our money, that means that families aren't going to struggle. If, you know, so it's a different mindset that not everybody maybe is caught up with yet. That's my 2 cents.
Well, and I would say too, my own experience I used to work for a public health department, for instance, and there was also that feeling of the taxpayer money is going to provide your service for this county, right, for this school district, and not when you, like, if you cross that line, then you're somebody else, nobody's paying for you, right? And so there was like that historical thing of tension around funding, especially public funding. But Jen, I also went through many, many years of that competition around childcare and early childhood. And, you know, it was almost like after so many years of their own advocacy, and then the brain development research came out and people were finally interested in young children and their growth and development, it was like this was the turf. And then to introduce families into that equation and say families are part of early childhood and family support and parenting education. And then it was just like, oh no, but if you get the money, then that'll be less money for early. Yeah. So sadly, as we scrape for pennies as it is, that tension over funding. So Becca and Cinnamon, I'm curious. So from what you gleaned from the conversation about up north, was this a fee type arrangement that they were looking to arrange, you know, be able to provide service, but that the families would be paying for?
I'm guessing so. We didn't get into details. Basically, our conversations were about what early childhood needs from the state, from MDE, and starting to have conversations about what our needs are. And a real high one is like parent educators, some kind of parent educator support, like, and like I said, not getting into a whole ton of specifics, but just expressing a very big unmet need.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the changes in licensing requirements hit the North really hard, because you have to be a licensed teacher now. They used to be able to have community experts work with parents and families who maybe didn't have a teaching license but were qualified in other ways, and now you can't. So they're finding themselves pretty stuck.
Well, one way that this group can be supportive is if there are educators who are available, but they're kind of struggling with how they do online outreach and service provision is, I mean, this is what we're all learning. I mean, Nikki started us off with the hybrid and everything that she's trying to do. So, I mean, without providing the service while they're trying to get that going, if there are educators that we can support as they're trying to do this, please let them know. Interesting. Thank you, guys. Well, I want to make sure we get back to Yuji, because it sounds like she had an experience with her teaching the first time, and we have all been there. So Yuji, would you like to share with us?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Walker. I mean, I couldn't wait for today. I mean, like it's so interesting. I mean, in last session, right, Loris, she shared her experience, and I didn't even relate I would experience something, right? So, I mean, that was, yeah, so I thought that, that will not happen, the class will not happen, because the district sent out only an email with this class. I designed the flyer, but they didn't use it. They said it's not fair to use a flyer for only this class, and because other classes they never used flyer, right? So they only put send out email to families with all the classes they offered together on one calendar, and a short description of each class, right? So most of the family, I would say, they will not pay attention because they receive this kind of all the time. And I know many parents, they do not open the emails from the district. So I thought, okay, I mean, I heard there were only one parent registered. I thought, okay, the class will not happen. And then until Monday, so the class scheduled on Tuesday night, right? So the first class. And then, Monday morning, I was talking to my partner. I said, "Hey, I'm reading this article." I was prepared to not having the class. I thought it will not happen. I said, "Hey, this is an article, you know, I was reading. It's wrote by the author was a pastor, Lutheran pastor, and from my from the university I'm going to." It says vocation. Vocation means a call, right? So, and the vocation you need to recognize first God-given gifts. Your talent and ability, and the second is interest, right? Interest and your passion, and the third is opportunities. I said, I feel like I have some kind of talents, and I'm building my abilities, and I definitely have strong passion in this. Now I only need opportunity. So I said, I do not know. I mean, when this opportunity will come. And then about 1 hour later, I received a phone call from the district. The supervisor, he said, okay, so we do have only 2 parents signed in. However, we think this is a big success because many classes we offer never had anyone signed in. And so he said, we are, we think we are open to, to start. And so what do you think? Are you willing to teach the class? And then I said, you know what? I know parenting. I mean, we do have counseling on one-to-one base, right? So for parenting, I don't mind the small size class, and it will give the opportunity to dig deeper of the topics. I said I'm willing to start. So And then I started the class. And actually, by the time we had the class, we had three people. Yeah, 3 parents. And so I thought, you know, so it was a surprise to me. I didn't feel nervous because this is my ever like a first class I taught by myself, and so I didn't feel nervous. Instead, I felt very exciting, happy, and you know, like and energized. So people were very engaged, and so they, you know, like we kind of quickly built connection. And we shared lots of life experience, right? So, and then when by the like towards the end of the class, we talked about the topics. We discussed the topics, what we will teach, and I gave them the list I planned for this semester, and then I asked for, you know, what in their mind they want to talk, you know, like urgently. And then one said, okay, so she wants to learn about how to handle children's big emotions, right? Especially negative emotions, for example, anger. And so that is what she wants. And I said, yes, that is actually on my list. Right after, you know, the current list, if we have more sessions, right? Like it means because we will have 8 sessions before spring breaks, and these 8 sessions, I planned 4 topics for these 8 sessions. If these 4 topics finished earlier, we might have 1 session available. We can talk about it, and then so another topic was brought up, and she said also, I want to. Okay, so she said, oh, this is a situation now. So this family, she's a grandma. She's taking care for the grandchildren. And then this family, she said, the father is going to die. Yeah, so she said the father is going to die. 2 children, one's 6, one's 2. And the father is going to die in a few years. How can we help the children? How can we prepare the children for that, for this family crisis? Okay, so I was muted for a while. I mean, and then as other parents, she started to cry. You know, other parents started to cry, and I said, you know what, I really appreciate. I mean, this so. I said, well, I never taught. I mean, I never experienced this. I mean, this topic in my experience, right? So you like during my observation of my mentors and my colleagues, and so I have not reached to this topic yet. I need time to ask my mentors, my colleagues, and my professors, and I will need to do some research. Allow me time to organize this information, and then we will come back to it later. And so the other parents said, because this is such small class, right? We can help you to get more information about it. So, and that is the end of the class. And then I said, let's close on time. And so we closed the class. And then I was like, kind of like, so I didn't know. My feeling was really like, I didn't know what to feel, right? So it's like, and then in the night, okay, so in the morning, 4 a.m., I woke up, I couldn't sleep. I had so much feeling in my stomach and in my belly, and just like I was thinking, like full of my mind is about this topic, and also, so my partner reminded me. He said it must has things to do with your mother, right? Because I lost my mother 1 year ago. I think that is a similar time with, you know, Becca lost her mother. And so I had, you know, several traumas in my life. So I think that also evoked the feeling in me. And so actually that is also reminded me, I was thinking, gosh, I mean, yeah, thinking about the father, he's going to die. What is his feeling? And thinking about the mother, right? She's facing all this kind of, you know, like challenge, going to lose her husband and, you know, take care for her children by herself. And also the children, right? Losing their father. How do we prepare the children? And like, just like, I mean, I feel like, is it appropriate to, you know, like, I mean, the children is normal. Yeah, that is normal. And just like, definitely doesn't matter how well we prepared, they will experience the pain of losing their father, never see him again, right? And also, like, I feel also I'm thinking about the class, you know, the other parents. They are, you know, she was crying. I feel this is kind of related to secondary trauma. How do I help other parents in the class? I mean, you know, to avoid secondary trauma, and also myself, right? So in the, you know, in the future, when we relate to this kind of traumatic experience, and our educators, we also need to be aware of secondary trauma. So, and I realized, okay, I experienced many traumas in my life, but I'm not immune from getting like the pain, the hurt again. So this is such a huge, and I said, where can I find the counseling, you know? So I feel like maybe, you know, on one hand, professional counseling therapists definitely will be helpful for them. However, we cannot avoid to talk about this in our class, right? We have the responsibility to help them. How can I help? What are the boundaries? You know, like for us, when talking about this kind of, yeah, so there are so many things in my mind. I just feel and you know, she shared with me, she said she has another friend also parenting for her grandchild, and this child is 4 years old. The child lost his mother. I just feel, this morning, I was thinking, I sent her a message this morning. I said, I have been thinking for this child, and also I'm thinking for the father, right? For a single father to parent a child. I mean, and also dealing the loneliness and the pain losing his wife. I feel, yes, and I think death it sounds far, you know, from us in normal days, but it is really existing. You know, it's around us. I feel I need help. I need your help.
Wow. Well, thank you for sharing all that, Yuji. Let's open this up. A few people have, and I can't emphasize what Christy said more, that is a tremendous amount for anyone to handle in a first class. And I mean, it's huge. And it tests any of us to know, as you said, when you have an issue, when you have something so present that you know that it is beyond the things we talk about as parenting educators as our own boundaries. And we're not social service workers, we're not therapists. And so how do we stay focused on our jobs as educators while we are also human beings, and we're also very empathic and also building on our own experiences, and keeping the class in mind, right? All of that. And so to do all of that on your first class, and to be so compassionate to the families, it's huge. And so thank you so much for, I'm glad we're here for you. And when you said, you were looking forward to this class, or to this class, to the group today. This is thrilling because this is exactly what we can do. So I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to open it up. Please, others, please chime in and share your support for Yuji.
I would just like to comment, and I think that you must have been a source of comfort for them to even open up like this. And so kudos to you for that you gave them that atmosphere to be able to let this out and share. I lost both my parents. Of course, I've been doing this for 27 years, but I lost both my parents. They died during the school year. And I've had numerous experiences with really hard things in class. And I don't have answers that I can give you, but I can tell you what worked for me is when I left the nursing home and my mother was on her last breaths, what I found was helpful for me is I would go to school and I would just turn really academic, And so the first thing that I was thinking when you were talking is, okay, let's research what children do understand about death in development.
Mhm.
And let's just help those parents know through the ages what children's understanding is of death. Then let's also get children's books, and this might not be appropriate right now, but that do address death, that the parents can read to their children. Sometimes just reading a book helps conversation, and things will come up from the child that you can answer, but you wouldn't have thought to answer. And so I just did I tried to focus on, I'm going to research this, and I'm going to do this lesson, even though I'm really sad inside. And I don't think that that's something, and you can get support from your group. I know that I would go into the office and one of the staff persons, because they're all caring, they would say, "How's your mom doing?" And I just went to another parent ed and I said, "Would you please, in a tactful way, tell the other staff I can't handle that question right now because it's too raw." So just letting your staff know, that you're dealing with things, you need support, they will be there for you. And nobody asked me again. It's like they probably just turned their head when I walk down the hall. I don't know. But that's what I needed to do to function at my job. But I found like I could kind of distract my mind when I was at school from what was happening outside of me. Now, it worked for me. I don't know. I can't say that works for other people, but it was also almost a good distraction for me because it helped me to leave my sadness for brief periods of time and to kind of renew myself. I had a purpose. I had, responsibilities, and I was just, going to be there and continue to do it. And I think also to realize that we don't have all the answers, and you won't. I mean, that we never will have all the answers. We can't see into everyone's lives, but we can listen and we can say, "I hear you, we're here for you." And maybe this is a thing that you don't want to, have your personal walk with your grief. to come out in the group, because then that would be really hard for you, you know, to kind of avoid that right now. Just focus on, you know, the development of children with grieving. And I know that funeral homes have packets of information for helping children deal with death.
Mhm.
And then I'm sure that if you just Google grieving for children, you would get a lot of information too. But I'm just sharing what, you know, what I have done over the years, and it seems to have been helpful. I'll shut up now.
Thank you so much, Loris.
And a number of wonderful resources have been shared as well in chat, and personal experiences. Thank you for sharing those as well, you guys.
I had a thought on the advocacy side on behalf of the parents who are, or grandparents that are going to pass away. And as they try to navigate how do I help my kids when I know there's the here and now, what do they understand in this state of in age of development? What are they going to understand in 2 years and 4 and in 6, and what are they going to need? I lost my mom 18 years ago this week. And one of the things that I wish that that we had done and had done more diligently is videoing or capturing some things specifically for the kids and grandkids. And because of my own experience with that, you know, what Yuji, you're saying you have had some trauma. Yeah, we reflect on these experiences, and those often influence the way that we come forward to advocate on behalf of our families. And one of those things that I've added in a couple of times is empowering the families to capture some thoughts, some things that are beautiful sentiments that they want to have their kids and grandkids cherish forever. And so that's one thing that, you know, I just think the power of suggestion, it's not, maybe there's research around that. I don't, maybe, but even if there's not, I think we know how touching that can be to have that thing to hold in your hand and see and visualize and feel the love still coming from that parent who is going to pass away.
Thank you, Nikki.
Maybe something, just a little something is when my father died 10 years ago, my children were little. I just grabbed one of my favorite snapshots of each of the kids with him and put them in a little frame and had them out in the kitchen, something like that. And just one of my favorites, and one of their favorites. They got to choose depending on their age. They chose just another idea of making them present in a place to, and they got to take them with them when they left home, when they graduated. Took off. I was in a meeting yesterday with Tina Bryson about this master class. Tina Bryson, Susan Stiffelman, and Laura Markham, and they were talking about resilience. That might be a way in your classes to bring up grief. That grief is the way to resilience, and it might be the loss of and I put it in the chat, a traditional grief as a loss of a loved one, or other griefs that we're experiencing right now, which are many, and it could be the loss of time with a friend, or the loss of time with a loved one. It could be, you know where I'm going with this, right? That any type of grief we're experiencing leads to that potential for resilience. And so there's a couple different ways you can approach it with a group. If you talk about the traditional grief, the loss, and what we can do, but you want to move on and broaden it to other people, that's one way.
Yeah, that is great, Ellen. I think that's Greta, sorry. That is a wonderful way to I think sometimes what happens when we focus a little too much on the needs of an individual is that the other people can start to feel like, is this a support group or is this a solo thing? Especially, I think, in a small group that is just getting started, right? Where they don't have the history yet to really know what the flow is. And so to find a wonderful topic like resilience, that really is important for everyone, and that they can transfer to their parenting and to their children, and they can transfer this idea of losses, even if it isn't a family member, right? There are a lot of losses that families are experiencing right now, and that's fabulous. Thank you so much for sharing that. Anyone else? Great, great conversation. Thanks for the ideas. Yuji, how are you doing?
Oh, I feel so supported. I copied all the information from our chat, and I certainly will do research with all this website. And I think it's really, yes, resilience, and is definitely a big topic. And also I feel it's prevention, right? So because this case is, what's the unique of this case is prevent, it's ahead, it's not after the death. So I think I will also do some research about that. I think the idea, Laura's suggestion, reading books relate to death to children, I think that is a very good idea. And also, so I think another suggestion about empowering families to capture their own image, right? I think that is another key. I have not thought about that, how to empowering families, how to help them to capture their own vision, going through this process. I feel very grateful. I'm so happy. Now, I was really looking for our meeting today. Thank you so much.
I want to add, Yuji, you've got this resource is just phenomenal here, and looking at chat and hearing people's responses is just the richness of this group. But I want to reinforce how important it is for you to take care of yourself. And ground yourself and get whatever support you need, because I've lost people in my life and been an orphan for a long time. I lost I could go on, but we got to take care of ourselves in order to take care of other people. And LaRue, you nailed that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Karen.
And Yuji,
I just
want to say you can do this. You really can. I think sometimes we have things in front of us that we think, how am I going to get through this? But I believe you can do this, and you will get stronger, and it'll make you better at your job by going through some of these things. But you can do this.
I'd like to add, Yuji, you're already doing this. Like what you did with this thrust upon you on your first night teaching is beautiful. I hope you really feel that you created an environment where someone felt so safe they could share this trauma that is impending and they don't know what to do. And then you responded with grace and empathy and said, I need time and we will address this. And I think you couldn't have handled that better. So you are doing this. It's not just something you can do. You are doing this, and you were made for this work. And you're doing it beautifully.
Thank you so much, Becca. Thank you.
Well, you guys rock. Not that it's any surprise, but well, we are almost at our time today. I wanted to kind of steal one moment at the very end, just because, and this is, I'm going to put in the IFFD dot, wait a minute, IFF, wait, IFFD.org. So as a parenting educator, I feel pretty lonely. I feel pretty lonely. So I'm in this really bizarre role at the university, and I'm sort of half time at the university, but I've drawn towards, and as a parenting educator, just like you guys, like I'm an advocate for parenting ed, but we're not well understood or accepted. And I'm writing this paper for the United Nations, and like the primary thing that I'm putting in there is the benefit of parenting education as an investment strategy for families. And rather than just and only focusing on employment and education, kind of the big things like that kind of thing, but also the value of parenting education. And then to then also apply to the topic of technology is like, what? Like nobody is doing that. And so I don't have, like, you're a community that I really look forward to seeing. And when it comes to the technology piece, I mean, I'm pulling a lot of you into the fold here, but there aren't a lot of people that are doing this either, right? And so anyway, all of that is a preamble to yesterday. I had an opportunity to be a member of an expert focus group that was international. And it was from this group called the International Federation of Family Development. And they are an NGO that works with the UN. And I was invited to be on this expert panel specifically around families and technology. And they're coming up to something like the 30th anniversary of the International Year of the Family or something. And they always choose these big topic areas. And using technology as a transformation on the family is one of their big topics, which was why they asked me to work with them. Anyway, so and they sort of casually mentioned this International Federation on Family Development group. And I said, oh, well, and they all do parenting ed, like they're really focused on parenting ed. And so anyway, so they invited me to be on this focus group that ended up being 3 hours long. Because, you know, like you get 9 people and you tell them, and there were 9 questions to go through. And there were questions like, you know, can remote learning from the experience of COVID really help to improve education? And should we be teaching coding as a language in schools? You know, things like that. Anyway, so you get all these people and you give everybody 2 minutes. And of course, they all have prepared things that they take longer than that. This thing went on for like 3 hours. But it was so... One, I felt like I was with my people because they were talking about not only reaching families, but using technology effectively and that kind of thing. But mostly what I wanted to let you guys know was that there is a frickin' international group on parenting education called this International Federation on Family Development. And they care about parenting ed. They really, really do. And I mean, we're progressive in Minnesota because we have ECFE and we have the license in parenting ed, but we're unusual for that, right? And most of the focus when people talk about parenting ed are these evidence-based programs, which yes, have data, but they're really limited in scope and what they can do. And so mostly it's our advocacy that what we do matters and what we do makes a difference in families' lives and is so very needed. And you all, I mean, this conversation this morning is just another example of if this isn't available, can you imagine, right? Anyway, so I just wanted to leave us with letting you know that there is a global international interest in parenting education, this IFFD. I'm trying to weasel my way into it so that my own sort of future beyond the university takes on more of a global international scope. And always, 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 just my final thing is for you to know that as I speak and research and work on behalf of parenting education, I always am promoting ACFE and what we do in Minnesota and all of you. So that's it.
You're like the proud grandma, and we are ECFE is we are the grandchildren. And if you could, and you could put us in pictures, you would like you'd open up your wallet and like all the pictures fall out.
Yeah,
like,
and
look
they
at all
were
these
all like
programs.
rolled out. Seriously,
Ladies, I know them all. That's how I view you, like ECFE's proud mother, grandmother.
I'll have a photo album on my phone and I'll be like, no, come over here. Let me show you pictures of my kids. This is Ellen in Northfield. This is Nikki in Robbinsdale. Yeah. So anyway, and the way that we do parenting education too is something that I so deeply value and also promote. So anyway, with all of that, I just wanted to share that and thank you all. So yeah, so with that, let's come to closure for today. Thank you all so much for your time, especially for your support on UGI, and thank you to Nikki for opening us up to little voice amplifiers for when we teach and to navigate these hybrid experiences. So
I sent Susan a picture because I emailed our program and asked for the box and the what was inside. So Susan can share the pictures, maybe via email.
yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And also you probably noticed on our listserv that Lucy Barron also shared, not Barron, sorry, she's from Wyoming. Lucy from Mankato, or not from St. Cloud area, who's on our call. Anyway. Bowers, yes. So she's at a lunch and learn today from the Ellison Center. So, but she shared that today as well. So anyway, well, everybody have a fabulous week and we'll see you next Friday.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Walker. Bye.